Yo, this will be my first time covering a non-Liverpool game, so my analysis should be completely impartial. I want to start with the biggest talking point from today's game, bar Gabriel Martinelli's goal, and that's should Mateo Kovacic have been sent off? Yes. Unquestionably, yes. We just watched the two best teams from last season go head to head for the first time this season, and the last thing that I want to do is to be talking about the officiating. But Michael Oliver got it horribly wrong. I did not think that Kovacic's first tackle on Martin Odegaard was a red card. It's a poor tackle, but I don't want to see players get sent off for those kinds of challenges. Not every bad tackle should result in a player being dismissed from the game. However, when Kovacic lunges in on Declan Rice a few minutes later, he has to go. It's a second yellow card. VAR cannot intervene on yellow card offences, but why not? Of course, they shouldn't get involved in every single yellow card administered by the referee, but a potential second yellow card isn't any different from a red card. The end result is a player being discharged from the game. Perhaps from Michael Oliver's angle, he doesn't see that Kovacic actually catches Declan Rice. Isn't that what the technology is for? To correct obvious refereeing errors. Bear in mind, Michael Oliver is the same referee who booked Martinelli twice in a matter of seconds against Wolves last year, I think it was. He is not exactly known to have a high tolerance when it comes to dishing out yellow cards. As for the game itself, I actually thought it was quite dull. I usually enjoy these sorts of close encounters where each manager is trying to outwit the other tactically, but this felt like two teams playing for a draw. It was eventually decided by a rather fortuitous Martinelli goal, who probably deserved that bit of luck for the way that he imposed himself on the game after coming on at half-time for Leandro Trossard. On Arsenal's performance, for anyone who watched the game on Sky probably noticed how critical the co-commentator Gary Neville was of David Raya in the Arsenal goal. Especially in the first half, and rightly so, he looked very nervy. However, only the commentator Peter Drury praised some of David Raya's exceptional passes throughout the game, whilst Gary Neville remained silent. If you're unhappy about Raya being selected over Ramsdale, don't let it seep into your commentary. Declan Rice continues to justify his price tag with another composed and mature performance in the middle of the park. He reads the game so well and intelligently picks and chooses his moments when to drive his team up the pitch. Jorginho was preferred to Kai Havertz to help Arsenal maintain more of a foothold in the midfield, you would imagine. But this brings me to one of my main criticisms of Arsenal this season, and that is the signing of Kai Havertz. If you're going to spend around £65 million on a footballer, surely it's to help you win these kinds of games that you struggled in last season, to improve the starting 11. I didn't get the transfer at the time, and I don't get it now. That money could have been put towards a like-for-like Granit Xhaka replacement, a backup for Bukayo Saka, or an out-and-out centre-forward. Eddie Nketiah continues to show why he's not good enough to start for this Arsenal team, at least not in these kinds of games. He's a decent squad player and he will score his share of goals, but his overall game leaves a lot to be desired. He had one decent chance today and he fluffed his lines. Not good enough. On City's performance, this is as poor as I've seen them in a big game for a long time. Their best opportunities came down the left-hand side to a natural central defender in Josko Vardiol, who I thought had his poorest game in a City shirt today. He gave away lots of silly square passes, but he still coped relatively well defensively, which you would expect. I don't think Ruben Diaz looked himself today either. I think him and William Saliba are the two best central defenders in the league at the moment, but he didn't look his commanding self today. City, as you would expect, kept the ball well in midfield, but lacked the fluidity and creativity that we've become accustomed to. I thought that this was the game where you would really expect the likes of Phil Foden to really step up and impose himself on the game, but he was quiet by his standards. Credit has to go to Arsenal, of course, but I'm looking at this from City's perspective. Rodri and De Bruyne are huge misses, but I still expected a lot more from this City midfield today. Erling Haaland is probably in his worst vein of form since he joined the club, and he barely had a sniff today. The frustrating thing for City fans is probably that he doesn't influence the game at all when he's not getting on the end of things. He scores a lot of goals, I get it, but in these types of games, you do need to offer a little bit more than what he did today. Jeremy Doku's introduction did inject some much needed pace and directness into City's attacking play, but his deliveries into the box were well dealt with by the Arsenal defenders. Arsenal were the better team on the day, and if one team deserved to win it, it was probably them. A lot of people tipped Arsenal to win the league this season, but I still think Manchester City are the best team in the league and they will take some stopping. They've stuttered before and won league titles at an absolute canter. Who eventually wins it this season will come down to a combination of things like it always does, including luck with injuries, progress in the Champions League and mentality. Before fans of other clubs shout at me in the comments section, if Spurs or Liverpool are still thereabouts at the halfway mark, I'll be more than happy to discuss their title prospects. But for now, I do think it's between these two sides. Thank you for taking the time to watch this quick video. I'd love to know what you agree or disagree with what I've said, especially if you're a fan of either of these two teams. Most of you know your teams better than I do, so I'd love to hear your feedback on some of my thoughts from today's game. Look, I only have 30 odd subscribers, so if you do like this video, please do give it a like and hit the subscribe button for more football related content. Cheers.